Hi, my name is Karen Rivera. My topic is tornadoes, and the question is, could humans ever stop tornadoes? To me, this is important because it happens on a global scale, but in our state alone, along with Oklahoma, we find some of the highest concentration of tornadoes in the U.S. So then what are tornadoes? According to the NSSL, tornadoes are narrow, violent, rotating columns of air that extend from the base of a thunderstorm to the ground. Out of all atmospheric storms in our planet, tornadoes are the most violent of all. They happen all over the world, but in the US alone, we find 1,000 to 100 per year, and there are two main types, supercell and non-supercell. So what causes them and how are they formed? So tornadoes usually are formed, most of them form supercell thunderstorms, and during these storms, as with all air on Earth, the cold air sinks as warmer rises. As warmer rises, it eventually turns into a spiral and into the funnel shape that we know as that form tornadoes. And then higher altitude, the wind changes direction and wind picks up speed, while below it creates an invisible spin, which is the tornado forming. So this diagram is perfect because it shows how a tornado forms. We find on the first picture that there's hot air on the top and cold air at the bottom. This hot and cold air starts mixing. Eventually, it switches shape to the top to a vertical shape, and then at the bottom we have a supercell thunderstorm, which is the actual tornado itself. With the mesocyclone, what are some tornado types? What gives it its shape? So supercell tornadoes are the most common and usually the most dangerous. And non-supercell tornadoes form a vertically spinning parcel of air, which forms from a wind shear from a warm, cold, or sea breeze front or a dry line. At the bottom, we have pictures, and at the left-hand side, we have gust tornadoes, which are dust tornadoes. In the middle, we have land spouts, which are rope-like condensation funnels, and water spouts at the right-hand side, which are water-based land spouts. So how destructive are really tornadoes? So we have a scale called the Fujita scale that tells us how destructive a tornado will be. F0 being the least destructive and F5 being the most destructive. And an F5 tornado will cause damage to houses, to apartment complexes, and to three-story buildings. So after seeing this scale, could we actually stop a tornado? The short answer is no, at least not with current technology and modern science. So scientists in the past have thought about building a giant wall that will prevent cold air and hot air from mixing and therefore prevent tornadoes altogether. The only problem with this is that it is a little ineffective because it costs 60 billion per 100 miles and it only would prevent about 27% of all tornadoes. In the past, but maybe in the future, humans could work on changing tornadoes, hot air and cold air from tornadoes, or even changing the wind direction as to slow down their rotation. Approximately 60 but even if we could do that in the future, humans could potentially create bigger problems than tornadoes themselves. We could create side effects that could be even more catastrophic than a tornado. So for now, all we could do is just learn to live with tornadoes and learn how to evacuate areas that are tornado prone safely so we can be safe with our families.